In Port Charles, the truth never stays buried for long. It lurks in the shadows of whispered conversations, hides behind innocent smiles, and, more often than not, finds its way into the hands of the one person who knows exactly how to weaponize it. This time, that truth detonates with devastating force, and at the center of the blast stands Harrison Chase. No one ever expected the dominoes to fall this way, least of all Chase himself. But when Wiley Corinthus, a child with more secrets than anyone realizes, lets something slip in front of the wrong person, everything changes. And when that wrong person happens to be Rick Lansing, the fallout is not just inevitable. It's catastrophic. Welcome to a week in General Hospital where loyalty is tested, innocence is shattered, and Harrison Chase finds himself under fire like never before. For a brief moment, an almost laughable moment, in hindsight, life in Port Charles felt stable. Harrison Chase had rebuilt himself piece by piece. Once disgraced, once stripped of his badge, once haunted by the feeling that he was no longer the man he thought he was, Chase had clawed his way back. His career had steadied. His moral compass, though dented, still pointed true north. And his personal life, while far from perfect, felt grounded. He believed the worst was behind him. That belief was his first mistake. Because in Port Charles, peace is merely the calm before the storm. And the storm, as it turns out, was sitting at a child-sized table with crayons and juice boxes. It begins innocently enough. Wiley is coloring. Rick Lansing is waiting, bored, observant, always listening even when he pretends not to. The adults in the room are distracted, arguing in hushed but heated tones about custody schedules, legal loopholes, and who has the upper hand this week. Children notice more than anyone gives them credit for. Wiley hums softly, his crayon dragging across the paper as Rick casually asks a question that seems harmless on the surface. "Who's that man who was yelling the other day?" Rick asks, his voice light, conversational. Wiley doesn't look up. "That's Chase," he says. "He's a cop. He told Daddy not to tell." The words land softly, but to Rick Lansing, they sound like thunder. Rick doesn't react. Not immediately. He's too seasoned for that. Instead, he files the comment away, already turning it over in his mind, already asking himself the most important question of all. What exactly did Chase tell Michael not to tell, and why? Rick Lansing has always thrived in chaos. He doesn't just practice law. He bends it, weaponizes it, and uses it to destroy anyone foolish enough to underestimate him. And now, handed a thread by a child, Rick begins pulling. Quietly, relentlessly, he digs into police reports. He requests sealed documents. He leans on old contacts who owe him favors, or fear him enough to comply. And slowly, a picture begins to form. A picture that suggests Harrison Chase may have crossed a line. Not a small one. Rick discovers inconsistencies. Missing timestamps. A witness statement that was never properly logged. A piece of evidence that appears to have been misplaced and then mysteriously returned. To Rick, it all screams one thing. And Chase? Chase is the perfect target. Too honest to be ruthless. Too principled to fight dirty. And too emotionally invested to see the trap being set. Meanwhile, Wiley begins to feel the shift. Children may not understand legal consequences, but they understand tension. They feel it in the way adults stop smiling. In the way conversations halt when they enter a room. In the way Chase suddenly keeps his distance. Wiley overhears fragments. If Rick finds out, "Can't let this go public." Chase could lose everything. Confusion turns into fear. Did he do something wrong? One night, Wiley asks a simple question that rips through the heart of everyone present. "Is Uncle Chase in trouble because of me?" Silence answers him. And in that silence, something precious breaks. Rick doesn't strike immediately. He waits for the moment that will cause maximum damage. That moment arrives during a tense custody hearing. With the courtroom packed and emotions already running high, Rick stands and delivers his bombshell. He alleges that Harrison Chase abused his position as a police officer to manipulate evidence, specifically to protect Michael and influence the outcome of a related investigation. The courtroom erupts. Gasps. Whispers. Outrage. Chase sits frozen, his world collapsing in real time. He never imagined it would come to this. For Harrison Chase, the accusations cut deeper than any punch ever could. He's fought to reclaim his integrity, to prove, to himself most of all, that he is worthy of the badge he wears and the trust people place in him. Now that trust evaporates. Internal Affairs launches an investigation. His superiors distance themselves. Colleagues who once had his back now avoid eye contact. And the press? They feast. Headlines scream corruption. Chase's name becomes synonymous with scandal. And the worst part? He can't fully defend himself without exposing others, people he loves. Michael knows the truth. He knows Chase bent the rules, not for personal gain, not for power, but to protect a child. To prevent further trauma. To keep Wiley safe. But intentions don't matter in court. Michael faces an impossible choice. Stay silent and watch Chase burn. Or speak up and risk destroying his own fragile family. Rick Lansing knows this too. That's why he smiles every time Michael enters the room. Because Rick doesn't need to win the case outright. He just needs everyone else to lose. The most chilling moment comes when Rick corners Wiley, never threatening, never cruel, just honest enough to be terrifying. You told the truth, Rick says gently. That's never wrong. But Wiley's eyes fill with tears. Uncle Chase is nice, he whispers. I don't want him to go away. Rick kneels, meeting Wiley's gaze. Then maybe, Rick says softly, the adults should have made better choices. The manipulation is subtle. And devastating. Port Charles fractures along familiar lines. Some believe Chase is a hero who made a tough call in an impossible situation. Others see a dangerous precedent. If a cop can bend the law once, what stops him from doing it again? Friendships strain. Old grudges resurface. And Rick Lansing thrives in the chaos, pulling strings from the shadows, savoring every ounce of destruction. Alone in his apartment, badge sitting untouched on the table, Chase confronts the truth he's been avoiding. He did cross a line. He believed he was doing the right thing. But belief doesn't erase consequences. For the first time, Chase wonders if being a good man is enough in a world that demands perfection, or punishment. As the investigation deepens and the walls close in, one thing is certain. This story is far from over. Will Michael sacrifice himself to save Chase? Will Wiley's innocence survive the damage done by adult secrets? And will Rick Lansing finally overplay his hand, or will he walk away victorious, leaving ruin in his wake? In Port Charles, the truth always comes out. The only question is who survives it.